Some generals in El Chapo's army were responsible for building that terrible framework for the Sinaloa cartel. But now that El Chapo is in prison, what became of these men? El Chapo's army was responsible for creating the deadly groundwork for the Sinaloa cartel. Have they met the same untimely end as their leader? Or do they continue to engage in illegal activity? Curious to know more? Well, stay connected for that. Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Having said that, let's get into the video. Mario Iglesias Villegas, 37, oversaw a crew of assassins, or sicarios, for the Sinaloa cartel, and authorities believe that he was involved in the deaths of thousands of people in Juarez between 2008 and 2011. Grim Reaper to prison for life, they include the kidnapping and murder of a groom, his best man, and their uncle on his wedding day. On May 7, 2010, Iglesias Villegas' squad kidnapped the groom, Rafael Morales Valencia, his brother and best man, J. Morales Valencia, and their uncle, Guadalupe Morales Ariola, outside El Señor de la Misericordia Catholic Church in Juarez. Cartel members transported the men to separate safe homes where they kept guns, narcotics, and money. The brothers in one, and Morales Ariola in another. They tortured and killed them there. According to testimony, a hitman sought vengeance for his father's claimed murder at the hands of the rival Juarez cartel. The trial of Iglesias Villegas in federal court in El Paso was part of a grand jury indictment that included Sinaloa cartel leaders Joaquin El Chapo Guzman and Ismael Mayo Zambada Garcia. In October, a jury found him guilty on several accounts, including conspiracy to break the Racketeer-Influenced Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, conspiracy to import and possess drugs, conspiracy to launder money, conspiracy to kill abroad, and conspiracy to have drugs and marijuana imported. According to a news release from the United States Attorney's Office for the Western District of Texas, Iglesias Villegas was sentenced to life in prison and forced to pay a $100,000 fine on Thursday. He was on trial with Arturo Shows Urquidi, dubbed Cruz, a former state police officer who guarded stash homes where cocaine-laden tanker were unloaded and reloaded with firearms and cash. Urquidi received a life sentence earlier this month. Iglesias Villegas, from Villa Armada, Chihuahua, joined the Sinaloa cartel in early 2008 under Joaquin Chapo Guzman Loera. Iglesias Villegas is also known as Dos, El2, Delta, and Parca, in addition to Grim Reaper. Greg Millard, special agent in charge of the DEA's El Paso division, stated with the Mario Iglesias' sentencing, Villegas' other significant Sinaloa cartel member, who was accountable for so much murder and suffering in neighboring Ciudad Juarez more than 10 years ago, has been brought to justice. No matter how long it takes, the DEA and its law enforcement partners will continue to pursue the arrest, extradition, conviction, and punishment of violent drug traffickers who threaten our communities. Manuel Aponte Alejandro Gomez Diaz, also known as El Bravo or the Fierce One, was a high-ranking member of the Sinaloa cartel, a drug trafficking organization, and a professional hitman from Mexico. He worked closely with former cartel boss Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Manuel Alejandro Aponte Gomez was born on December 10, 1974, in Chilpachingo, Guerrero, Mexico. Aponte had served in the Mexican Armed Forces before joining organized crime from 2000 until 2006. Aponte was appointed as Guzman's head of security after meeting him. As Guzman grew more wanted by law enforcement, Aponte assisted him in escaping by constructing multiple tunnels in northern Mexico. Aponte has pushed for control of the Sinaloa cartel after Guzman's capture in 2014. Aponte was tortured and shot multiple times on April 9, 2014. His body was dumped in Sinaloa with the bodies of his other associates. After pleading guilty to 3 of 14 counts in a federal indictment, a former Sinaloa cartel commander will spend the next 40 years in prison. Jose Antonio Torres Marufo, also known as the Jaguar, and 14, was sentenced to 480 months in federal prison, a $100,000 fine, and 5 years of supervised release by U.S. District Judge Frank Montalvo next week. Torres will serve his sentence in an Arizona jail. Torres pled guilty to conspiracy to kill another nation, aiding and abetting an abduction, and conspiracy to conduct an enterprise via a pattern of racketeering activities late last month. The United States Attorney's Office moved to dismiss the remaining 11 counts of the indictment. According to witnesses, Torres oversaw the Sinaloa cartel's operation in Juarez, which included transferring drugs from Mexico to the United States and eliminating competitors. He'd moved to Juarez and swiftly established himself as one of Sinaloa cartel's drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's top enforcers. He was one of several Sinaloa cartel operatives tried in El Paso in the late 2000s and early 2010s for violent organized criminal activity. According to the original indictment, the defendants worked with transportation cells to plan the importation of significant amounts of cocaine and marijuana into the United States via a number of routes, including the international bridges linking Juarez, Mexico, and El Paso, Texas, as well as the miles of open desert extending into the Juarez Valley. According to the indictment, Torres and the other defendants committed, attempted, and threatened to commit acts of violence, including kidnapping, torture, and murder, to safeguard and extend the enterprise's illicit operations. Torres was also charged in the document with ordering the death of a groom, his brother, and his uncle during the groom's wedding ceremony. According to the indictment, Torres was charged with delivering money and guns to Sinaloa cartel's Gante Nueva cell during its brutal struggle against the Juarez cartel. Several hundred people were killed during that war, and many Mexican residents fled to the United States. According to Rio Doce, an investigative news organization in Sinaloa, Mexico, drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman surrendered his most trusted hitman, Jonathan Salas Aviles, alias El Fantasma, which translates as the Ghost. According to the article, no one in Salas's inner circle, from his bodyguards to the cops in his pocket to his jefe, warned him that Mexican armed personnel was on his tail. On February 9th, they captured El Fantasma. About 200 soldiers and 3 Marine helicopters landed on Salas's refuge, a residence 30 minutes outside Coalican, the Sinaloa state capital. Salas was caught without firing a single shot. Rio Doce believes that his capture was the product of a deal struck between Guzman's deadly Sinaloa cartel and the Mexican government. Salas got the moniker from his subtle measures to conceal his identity. He had eluded 2 previous capture efforts, according to Rio Doce. El Chapo saw Salas as an operational danger because of his image as an aggressive and temperamental gunman who the military had pursued for months. He allegedly frightened the population of the tiny villages surrounding Culiacan by assaulting civilians and municipal police officers and disrupting private events while brandishing guns. Guzman and his cartel were fulfilling a contract with Mexican authorities to reduce violence in Sinaloa by handing over Salas. According to Rio Doce, the cartel committed to responding solely to attacks carried out by rivals, such as the Beltran Leyva organization and the organization led by drug trafficker Fausto Isidro Meza Flores, alias Chapito Isidro. Joaquin Guzman Loera was not the only major organized crime figure apprehended in Los Mochis on Friday. His head of sicarios, the cartel's senior hitman, was also apprehended by Mexican Navy agents. Ivan Gastelum Cruz, often known as El Cholo Ivan, is the name of this fugitive. Gastelum escaped from prison in 2009 by using a party within a state prison as a distraction, and he remained at large until Friday. He was a hitman, a murderer. In truth, he was in control of the Sinaloa cartel's assassins. Gastelum, like El Chapo, is something of a narco legend. Enigma Nortillo commemorated him in a song, with a line from a corrido dedicated to him reading, "Snitches are never pardoned here, for traitors cannot be allowed." El Cholo Ivan is another nickname for him. However, Gastelum is not a romantic figure. He is in command of assassinations for the Sinaloa cartel, the most powerful drug trafficking organization in the hemisphere. Gastelum was apprehended for the first time in 2005. At the time, he had 10 guns in his possession. However, the inquiry was botched, and El Cholo Ivan was released by a court order. However, he was captured again in 2008, this time following an armed confrontation with soldiers. He was imprisoned for a year. He then fled on August 9, 2009. The search for him was intense, with most of it taking place in Sinaloa. He was observed at least 3 times, and there were firefights in 2010, 2014, and 2015. While officials tried to apprehend him, he was thought to be hurt each time, but he always found a way to escape. In 2013, narco banners began to appear in several districts of Sinaloa, accusing the army of murdering Susana Flores, Miss Sinaloa, in 2012. Susana and Ivan were in a relationship. El Cholo is thought to have created the banners. Gastelum Cruz remained on the run until Friday, January 8th. He was targeted in the same raid on a Los Mochis home as El Chapo, attempted to flee through the same underground drainage system as El Chapo, and was apprehended in the same stolen car. Gastelum's capture may not be as good for the Mexican government's image as El Chapo's, but it is a big blow to the Sinaloa cartel. So what do you think about these crazy hitmen? We would like to hear from you in the comments down below. Make sure you are subscribed along with turning on the notifications. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you back in the next video.